Alliances that he may have forged are falling apart. Charles Stratford reports.
4 decades at the helm of a country that's described as one of the most complex tribal nations in the Middle East. So how has Muammar Gaddafi done it, and could tribal loyalty lead to his ultimate demise? Analysts say most of the major tribes are represented in the military, but Gaddafi has long relied on his own tribe, the Gaddafa, to staff elite security brigades. They are named after his sons and based in the capital Tripoli and large cities. The Gaddafa tribe are based in the northern midsection of the country, but alliances he has tried to form with other tribes based elsewhere now seem to be unravelling fast. For years, Gaddafi focused his efforts to win over the loyalty of tribes in the oil-rich west of Libya. It's home to the Warfalla tribe, estimated to have around 1 million members, approximately 1/6 of the country's total population. He has spent decades trying to gain their support. But since the violence began, they've rejected his rule and, like numerous other tribes, have called for his overthrow.
It is quite significant then to know that tribes such as Warfalla and other tribes actually in the country, when they stand up and say, we don't support this regime, it doesn't mean that they supported him in the past. It just means we are going to stand against you, and we're going to stand along the people on the street. We're going to stand along the Libyan people instead.
Some analysts say Gaddafi may have maintained an anti-tribalism stance throughout his near 42 years in power, but he's always made sure people are aware of their tribal identities. But now it seems he has already lost control of much of the east of the country, including Libya's second city, Benghazi. And analysts say he never managed to fully consolidate his power here anyway. His son has warned of civil war.
Libya is not Tunisia or Egypt. Libya is tribes, clans and alliances. Libya doesn't have a civil society and political parties. It will be a civil war, and we will kill each other on the streets.
Many experts fear Gaddafi may now appeal to some smaller tribes to stay loyal to him, and he will supply them arms. He is already accused of bringing in mercenaries from other African states and elsewhere. Elements within the military have already swapped sides. Gaddafi has vowed to fight on, but as the little support he had among some tribes dissolves, his methods for securing political survival are becoming increasingly desperate. Charles Stratford, AlJazeera.
Now, let's not forget that Libya is not the only country in the region that is seeing a popular uprising. Protests have been going on in Yemen for some 2 weeks now. And now 7 members of the ruling party have resigned, saying they plan to form a new independent bloc. Meanwhile, 2 pro-democracy activists were killed and more than 10 others injured in clashes overnight. Witnesses say armed government supporters opened fire on the demonstrators in the capital, Sana'a. Hashim Mahalbara is in Sana'a with the latest.
There appears to be more cracks on the government and the political elite here in Yemen. The Minister of Tourism, Nabil Hassan al-Faqih, has told President Ali Abdullah Saleh that huge reforms are overdue and that Yemen needs early elections in September 2011 without Ali Abdullah Saleh as running as a candidate for the Minister of Tourism. This is the only way to save Yemen from impasse and from further deterioration of the security situation. 8 members of the ruling party have also resigned from the Parliament, citing concerns over the situation in Yemen and the violent attacks on the pro-democracy protesters. We also understand that the second highest ranking official at the Ministry of Local Administration has also resigned over what he describes as rampant corruption and violent attacks by government loyalists against pro-democracy protesters. Ali Abdullah Saleh remains defiant. He's saying that he understands that people are looking forward to change, but therefore change should be only dictated by ballot box, and that he refuses this whole idea of people inspired by events in Libya, Tunisia and Egypt and taking to the streets to enforce their own agenda of change.
Well, in New Zealand, rescue workers are still trying to locate survivors after Tuesday's earthquake. It's thought up to 300 people are still unaccounted for. At least 75 were killed when buildings collapsed in Christchurch. Andrew Thomas reports.
The rescue efforts continue, but with each passing hour, hopes fade. Here, where there stood a 6-storey building containing a TV station and a language school, now just smouldering rubble. There's no chance any more people can be pulled alive from here. Between 50 and 80 were inside when it fell. Elsewhere, though, there is still a faint chance more survivors can be found. At one city centre office block, a woman was pulled alive from the rubble after more than 25 hours trapped. This dramatic footage, filmed on Tuesday, shows the conditions under which rescuers are working. Dark, dangerous, but the result here, a life saved. Al Jazeera has obtained new footage of the moment the earthquake hit a Christian leadership meeting.
There's the earthquake I told you we were going to have. That's there.
The carnage it caused seen firsthand by New Zealand's Prime Minister on Wednesday.
All New Zealanders have a piece of our heart in Christchurch. All of our lives are touched by this event. A friend or a family member who lives there, a time spent studying or a memorable experience there. We feel connected to your suffering. Your tragedy is our tragedy. Today I want Christchurch to hear this message. You will get through this. This proud country is right behind you, and we are backing you with all our might.
As if conditions weren't already tough enough, concerned that aftershocks could bring more buildings tumbling down. This hotel, one of the tallest buildings in town, leans precariously to one side. Each new sway of the ground, and on Wednesday there have been many, brings fears it will fall. This building is typical now of so many in Christchurch. A real mess. You can see the walls have been ripped off, rooms exposed, rubble on the ground. It was actually hit by the more minor earthquake in September and was being restored after that earthquake when yesterday's hit. And yesterday's, I'm afraid, finished it off. Out of town too, the fort's clear. Beautiful tourist drives, now rock-strewn assault courses. In the city, everyone affected. Water, where available, must be boiled. Half of all homes without power. Those that can, leaving. Christchurch Airport reopen, but packed with people desperate to get out. New Zealand is one of the least populated countries on Earth, famous for its wide open spaces. The terrible irony here, that this quake hit one of its most crowded places at one of its busiest times. Andrew Thomas, Al Jazeera, Christchurch.
The US President Barack Obama's former chief of staff has been elected the mayor of Chicago. Rahm Emanuel resigned from the White House specifically to run for the office in what is America's third largest city. He won more than 50% of the vote in the first round, avoiding a runoff. In Mexico, 2 people have been killed in a drive-by shooting in the resort city of Mazatlan. The attack took place in a hotel car park. Many foreign tourists were reportedly in the area when it happened, and it's prompted several cruise ship companies to cancel their stopovers in the city. Now, a year after entering the Swat Valley, Pakistan's army has begun to scale down its operations in the region. The big challenge now is how to reintegrate some of the men who were once considered the enemy. Kamal Haider reports.
For the first time since the army started its de-radicalization program,